Hello landlords, it's Ernie, I'm back, and today we're talking all about rent increases. Is it happening to you? Let's get started. My job is defending the assets most important to my clients, and the videos you'll find here are right in line with that philosophy. If you enjoy what you're watching, give us a like, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. This week we're talking all about the fluctuations in the market regarding rent. Is your rent going up, going down, or staying stagnant? I want to know. In the comments below, share with me what your experience is about rent presently and over the last 18 months. Where do you think rent is headed over the next year, year and a half? Let me know in the comments below. So I've done some research on this topic. I started with a survey on my Facebook group. If you're not part of Texas Landlords, you're welcome to join us on our Facebook group. Also on the YouTube channel, we put a survey out having to do with where rent is heading, because I'm reading articles all the time that have to do with a massive shift in rent. So over the last year, not only have housing prices risen, the rent is going up too. Over and over, we find article after article indicating that rents are going up and competition for good rentals is heating up. And there are a couple of forces at play here. First, there are a lot of people out there looking for rent houses. These are people who otherwise couldn't purchase a home because the prices of homes skyrocketed over the summer, or because the amount of inventory of available houses just was not there. That means that these same people are living somewhere, and many of them are choosing to rent. This means that there are some highly qualified renters out there who are on the market looking for a rental and are willing to pay top dollar for a good rental. So it's important to study the market and understand which parts of the market were hit hardest by the pandemic. It's no secret that the lower end of the market is going to carry the brunt of the devastation on an economic level. In fact, you'll see that 70% or almost 70% of people making less than $50,000 reportedly are behind on their rent. That's a huge part of the market, but it's not the only part of the market. If you are vetting your potential tenants and know that your potential tenant makes more than $50,000 a year, already you are at an advantage over those where tenants only make $50,000 or less. So if in your calculation, someone is required to make an income of over $50,000 or $60,000 or $75,000, you may find that although they may have felt an economic impact due to the pandemic, that they are not suffering the same economic disadvantage, and because they were unable to purchase a home, may be willing to pay a higher market value for the same rental that they could have gotten last year at a discount. By all means, the pandemic is not over, nor are the economic effects, but there are trends that we have to consider. For example, nationally, 1 and 2 bedroom apartments over the last year have grown in value by 8%. This means that a unit that 1 year ago rented for $1,500 can now easily rent for over $1,600. Is the same true in your area? Well, let's take a look at certain cities across the state of Texas. As you can see, markets in Houston, Dallas, Austin, and San Antonio all saw a year-over-year rise in the amount of rent that is being collected for the same units. After just 1 year in the city of Houston, prices went up just like the national average of about 8%. However, in Austin, you'll see that the rise was 15%. Dallas, San Antonio, and Fort Worth all saw rises of 10%. If you take a look at the markets in the Houston area, Spring, Katy, Humble, Baytown, and Conroe, all of them saw increases. Now, a few of these saw minimal increases, but you can see that Katy and Conroe each saw about a 10% increase in the amounts of rent that are being collected in those areas. What other factors do you have to consider when you're thinking about whether or not your rent must increase. Well, one of those absolutely is insurance, particularly here in the state of Texas, where we experienced an odd freeze that happened in the month of February, where pipes burst and walls and floors and plumbing all had to be addressed in a very short amount of time. When labor was short and supplies were short, costs went through the roof in some cases. And while insurance may have covered these claims, the cost of your insurance is now likely on the way up. The economic toll of the winter freeze is up over $130 billion, and the cost to cover these is inevitably going to come from consumers. That means both the landlord who is renting the home, but also the tenant who is paying for their own insurance coverage based on the claims that were paid out over the last 8 months. So along with insurance proceeds going up and the market itself with a higher demand for rentals, the last thing to consider is the value of the property itself. Taxes are also on the rise. And so come January, when a higher tax debt is owed, how are you as the landlord going to make up for it? Inevitably, my prediction is that all rents will need to rise over the next 3 months. When you're signing a new lease, make sure you consider these factors. You're going to want to make sure that your rental is profitable as the market itself evolves. With higher insurance premiums, higher taxes, and a greater demand for your property, the market does seem poised to allow you to raise your rent. The question is, how high do you raise your rent so you don't lose out on a competitive market? So one thing you can do is contact a realtor. And a realtor, particularly a realtor who represents landlords and tenants, can give you a feel for how the market has responded and what tenants are looking for in terms of rentals. Find someone specifically who operates in your area. You can also seek information from websites, apartments.com, realtor.com. These are pretty good sources of information that you can use to gauge what's out there and to make a determination as to whether or not you need to make an increase in the rent that you are currently demanding. How long has it been since you've adjusted your rent? If it's the same that you've been charging for the last 5 years, it is definitely time for an upgrade. I hope all of you out there have found this information both helpful and interesting. Don't let this opportunity pass you by. You don't want to get locked in for 12 months or 24 months on a rate that is below the market value. Constantly study the market in your area to make sure that you are deriving the maximum benefit from your investment property. You want to make sure at all times that not only are you covered in terms of your expenditures and your costs, but that you are reaping the kind of profit that you need in order to remain a profitable business. Join us every week as we bring new videos to you landlords. If you're interested in watching more, YouTube seems to think that this one's a pretty good option for you. And if you are interested in subscribing, there's a picture of me right here. Click there and you can subscribe. But until next time, landlords, happy leasing.